Potatoes, all varieties, $3.99 for a 5-pound bag. Fresh ground beef, all size packages, just $2.99 per pound, saving $1.
Hot price on old-time 100% whole wheat bread, only $3.99 for a loaf.
Select varieties of Arm & Hammer laundry detergent, just $9.99 for a 75-ounce bottle. Huggies Pull-Ups, all sizes for boys and girls, only $14.99. All stores open Monday through Saturday until 10 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. for your shopping convenience.
You can count on us.
You're watching Bermuda Tonight. It's Friday, February 22nd, 2019. I'm Diane Brewer, and thank you for joining us. Topping our news, those hoping to hear of government's plans to increase the population through immigration in a bid to enhance the economy were disappointed today. Minister of Finance Curtis Dickinson acknowledging the immigration calls during the presentation of the island's national budget for 2019-2020. Mr. Dickinson held firm that the immigration approach was the wrong approach that ignored a host of underlying issues. Tarai Trott has the details.
Instead of opening up to more foreigners coming to Bermuda to work, Minister of Finance Curtis Dickinson said the solution for bolstering the economy lies with those Bermudians who have immigrated overseas, whom he now wants to return home and contribute.
There's a constant refrain in some quarters which speaks about the need to relax our immigration laws even further to boost the population in Bermuda. It is a simplistic argument which willfully ignores the other economic challenges faced by Bermuda. Mr. Speaker, immigration is not the core issue. Economic competitiveness is. Under our current laws, any investor who wishes to come to Bermuda to start a company can stay in Bermuda, apply to become a permanent resident, pass that PRC status to their spouse and children, and buy property here in Bermuda. Mr. Speaker, the issue is not whether or not we have the laws to attract investors and job creators to our country. The question that must be answered is why they are choosing to invest in other places. Mr. Speaker, Bermuda's challenge is not solely the need for immigration reform. Bermuda's challenge is the need for fundamental economic reform.
The government moving to take action to ease the burden on Bermudian homeowners who are struggling to pay their mortgages due to high interest rates.
The government will, in conjunction with private sector banks, pilot a mortgage guarantee program in return for a reduction in interest rates charged to Bermudians for their mortgages. Secondly, the government will create a government-backed mortgage lender to relieve pressure on public sector employees by providing them with reduced mortgage rates. These two measures, combined with the elimination of tax on mortgage refinancing, are projected to save $5,300 a year for the average family carrying a $500,000 mortgage.
Payroll taxes also coming under the national spotlight. The Ministry of Finance worked with key stakeholders to generate incentives for companies to create and locate additional staff in Bermuda by providing payroll tax relief for new positions created on the island. Elsewhere, government said it will start to reduce the national debt this year and projected no long-term borrowing in the foreseeable future.
The government does not anticipate any long-term borrowing in this fiscal year, and at March 31st, 2020, it is estimated that the gross public debt will be $2.457 billion once we apply the projected surplus to the sinking fund. Mr. Speaker, in keeping with our pledge from last year, we expect that this year we will start reducing our debt. We will continue to reduce expenses where we can, but we will also make strategic investments needed to stimulate economic growth. Mr. Speaker, as our debt metrics stabilize, and we project no new long-term borrowing in the 2019-2020 fiscal year, the government has no immediate plans to raise the country's debt ceiling.
Education also featuring high up on the government spending plans.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education has been given $136.9 million. This ministry has allocated an estimated total of $2.8 million in the fiscal year 2019-2020 for the funding of initiatives that support the execution of Plan 2022, and the introduction of a merit-based college promise program for public school graduates who attend the Bermuda College. Plan 2022 articulates a clear mission to provide all students with equitable access to holistic, varied, and high-quality instruction that is culturally relevant and empowers students to reach their full potential.
As announced already, the government decided to backtrack on a controversial proposal to tax residential and commercial rental income.
Following consultation, the government will not introduce a new tax on residential or commercial rents. Instead, the government intends to increase land tax.
You have your turn next week. You have your turn next week.
Minister, I want to hear from that one minister today. Thank you.
In the 2018-2019 budget statement, as a temporary measure, land tax rates on commercial properties were increased by 5%, raising an additional $15 million in land tax revenue. This provision will expire on the 30th of June 2019, and the legislation provides for the rates to revert back to 7%. It is now proposed to increase land tax on commercial properties from 7% to 9.5%, and land tax on tourist properties from 7% to 8%.
Coming up after this break, opposition reaction to the budget and your weekend weather forecast. Stay with us.
At Argus, our interest is you. Each of you. Around here, we know that when two people seem the same, they can have very different insurance needs. For their health, home, work, and future. Which is why we take the time to get to know you as an individual, so we can provide insurance coverage that fits your life. Because after all, our interest is you.
You can count on us.
Save $1.30 on Purdue fresh chicken leg quarters, only $1.59 per pound. Fresh blueberries, 1 pint, just $3.99, saving you $3. Hellman's mayonnaise, hot price, just $5.99 for a 30-ounce jar. General Mills Cheerios cereal, only $5.49 for a 12-ounce box. Save $2.66 on Ocean Spray cranberry juice, only $4.99 for a 64-ounce bottle. Visit our website at www.marketplace.pm for more weekly specials.
You can count on us. At the Bermuda Festival, Broadway comes to the stage on March 1st and 2nd. The hilarious Broadway's next hit musical is an unscripted theatrical show. Master improvisers gather hit song suggestions from the audience and create a spontaneous evening of music, humor, and laughter. Every song is fresh. Every scene is new. Every night is different. It's all improvised. It's all funny, and it's perfect family entertainment. For tickets, visit PTix or BermudaFestival.org. Celebrating the empowerment of women. She is Art. 44th Annual Bermuda Festival.
Welcome back. Disappointing. That is how the opposition One Bermuda Alliance has judged the PLP government's 2019 budget presentation. Leader of the opposition, Craig Cannonier, speaking with Gary Moreno at the House of Assembly, says the current economy is staying afloat thanks to OBA fiscal policies.
What is keeping Bermuda above water right now are the economic stimulus packages that the One Bermuda Alliance put in place. It's very clear within their budget. It states this here. Number two, they also state that now is not the time to increase taxes. Yet we see land tax and the likes being increased on Mr. and Miss Bermuda. This is not the position that we want to be in right now. And then number three, you know, as we were going through the budget, listening very intently for what was going to increase or what was going to stimulate the economy for higher revenues, there's nothing there, nothing at all. And I'm concerned that throughout this year, we are going to continue to see this government looking for revenues like, okay, people are paying their bills with their credit cards because they don't have the money. Now you're going to charge them for the interest fee as well? This, to me, is paramount to really the government begging for ideas and ways to increase revenue within Bermuda. This is not where we want to be.
Meanwhile, Shadow Finance Minister Nick Kemp expressed disappointment at a departure from the OBA's prior financial discipline, most notably in the case of the government passing on sinking fund contributions this fiscal year.
Spending has gone up, and the fact that taxes have gone up as well is wholly disappointing. The rating of the sinking fund harkens back on the 2009-10 budget when Premier Cox did it to try and put makeup on a pig, for lack of a better word, to improve the outlook on the budget, and also the fact that In 2013-14, I think it were 2012-13, 51 million was raided from the sinking fund to pay interest. The sinking fund is our forced savings piggy bank, and the departure from that discipline is a slippery slope.
And while taxes on residential and commercial rent and managed service tax was scrapped, Mr. Kemp believes the situation is worse off with an increase on land tax.
The fact that the rental tax was dropped but replaced by an increase in land tax is, a rose by another name. The burden is still going to be felt by homeowners or renters because that tax will eventually get passed on. At least with the rental tax, homeowners got relief from it. With an increase in land tax, whether or not it's your own homestead and your only place of security or not, you're going to feel the burden. The fact of the matter is taxes went up and government showed no shared sacrifice by reducing their own spend. Despite efficiency committees, despite trash being reduced to once a week, and all sorts of other austerity measures that Bermuda is being subjected to, government hasn't managed to reduce its spending at all, and that's thoroughly disappointing.
And Mr. Canadier says there's still no sign of the government prioritizing immigration reform.
If you go out there in the local market now, you can find there are places that are empty, that are not being rented out. These people will be renting those places out. 10,000 more people here spending money is going to make a huge difference to the local market.
Where are these people going to be employed?
Well, that's another argument that we need to sit down and flesh out. What I am saying is that we need to see a plan that's going to bring more people here. I'm not saying we have to have 10,000 overnight, but where is the plan that's going to bring more people here now? You need to start now. One of the things that we did as an OBA government when we sat down, and they are, this year talking about how dire things are, it wasn't any more dire. In fact, they were worse in 2012 than they are right now. It was the OBA who put us on a trajectory of forward momentum. But we recognize that you have to lay out plans that will stimulate the economy. We knew that if by getting the airport put together, that we would have several years of employment for people, revenues coming in. You can look at the budget and see where, the imports of construction goods and the likes and how it went up. These are things that we are now benefiting from. But of course, in 2013, as we were going through this here, nothing was happening. But we put it in place so that we knew that in a year or two, these revenues would be increasing, that imports in these goods would be increasing. Now, we're nearing the end of these projects, and we don't still hear what's coming to replace these things.
Turning to weather news, a bit of a dreary Friday, but we have a beautiful Saturday coming our way. Here are the details from AccuWeather headquarters.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
Good evening. I'm your AccuWeather meteorologist, Dajia Swad, and this forecast is brought to you by the BF&M Insurance Group. As we head into the Atlantic satellite here, noticing moisture streaming on in. Earlier today, we had some shower activity. We'll continue to see the chance for some spotty showers for tonight, but overall mostly cloudy and limited amount of moisture. However, into the extended forecast, we will be talking about more wet weather on the way. Here's a look at your simulated radar. Once again, moisture remaining to the north of Bermuda. Can't rule out a spotty shower trying to move on in. Currently sitting in the mid-60s across the island. Winds out of the west-northwest around 9 knots. Water temperature 67. Waves in the reef 1 to 2 feet. Waves out 4 to 7 feet. And your humidity around 76%. Now, as we continue into your tide times, we are looking at your next high tide at 10:54 p.m. tonight, followed by a low tide at 5:17 on your Saturday morning. High tide then followed at 11:14 a.m. on your Saturday, with a low tide at 5:40 p.m. Saturday evening. At this time, no warnings in effect, but we will be talking about another one coming into the weekend. And once again, for tonight, a low 59, partly cloudy skies, limited moisture. Going to be looking at clouds and sun for tomorrow, with the possibility for some pop-up showers due to the proximity of that front pressing its way to the south. You're looking at a high of 66 with a low of 59. And as we head in towards other parts of the Caribbean, you're looking at Trinidad in the upper 80s. cooling down into the lower 70s with some shower activity. Jamaica also going to be looking at some spotty showers with a high of 90 and a low of 75. Any travel plans? Well, Toronto looking at a high of 37 on the gloomy side. We're actually be tracking out some wet weather across the United States. Still gloomy in towards Atlanta with a high of 61 and low 53. Miami, some spotty activity, but overall mainly dry and remaining warm with temperatures in the 80s. As we talk about our extended forecast here, taking you into a futurecast starting off Sunday at 8 p.m. This is when we notice our next disturbance coming off the U.S. This will continue to press its way further to the east, and it will bring with it a front that will bring showers and even a chance for rain, but also gusting winds and some rough surf. Monday at 12 a.m., still not into the island, but you know we have this very strong southerly flow ahead of it. Windy conditions will continue as that front continues to press on through, and then by 6 a.m. on your Monday, well, that front will continue to press in towards Bermuda. Behind it, the wind flow changes no longer out of the south. This is going to put us at a small craft advisory late Sunday morning through your Sunday afternoon. And we do have to keep an eye on rough surf into your Monday, but wet weather is still going to be likely here once again Sunday into your Monday, then drying out into your Tuesday with a temperature of 66 on Tuesday.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
My name is Kevin Roberts. I'm a taxi driver / ambassador. My father's with BF&M, so am I. Half of my family always been seen to be with Bermuda Fine Marine. I tried a different provider at one time, but I wasn't too happy with the competition because then it took too long to settle claims. They questioned every claim, and I never really had that problem with BF&M. I'm quite happy with it.
And you're watching the Friday edition of Bermuda Tonight. The president of the Chamber of Commerce, John White, says he was pleased to see Finance Minister Curtis Dickinson avoid introducing new taxes for businesses during today's budget. Here's more in this report.
Mike, the Chamber executive met after the delivery of the budget today, and I think overall was pleased with the outcome of what we heard. So the concern before the budget was pretty much that there would be perhaps punitive new taxes created and increases in existing taxes, but overall, that didn't prove to be the case. And I think while the debt of $2.5 billion is obviously very concerning for government and for the entire island, job one for the government really was ensuring that the economy didn't stall due to new taxes that taxpayers are ill-positioned to be able to afford at this point in time. So I think the success of of Bermuda in the coming year will be job creation, and so I think this budget was delivered in a manner in which that can happen. I think obviously the budget is only as good as the assumptions that are put into the budget, but I think not creating new taxes will definitely give confidence to businesses to perhaps create new jobs. And so overall, I would say that the Chamber of Commerce, which represents mostly small and medium, but large businesses as well, is pleased with what we heard today.
John, back in the throne speech, one of your concerns was the 60-40.
Yes, and that's, I would say the 60-40 is something that has mixed views in Bermuda. My own personal view is that is something that Bermuda has to seriously discuss in order to encourage foreign capital to come to Bermuda. So I would personally like to see more discussion around the movement from 60-40 to 40-60 or elimination altogether of any barriers. But it's got to start with a discussion of the pros and cons, and so hopefully we'll hear more about that over the coming months.
In legal matters, a police inspector charged with causing grievous bodily harm by careless driving was found not guilty by a jury this week. Barry Richards of the Bermuda Police Service was involved in a serious collision with a motorcyclist, Aronde Wilson Jr., on Middle Road in Hamilton Parish last September. The motorcyclist was traveling in excess of the speed limit, and the collision occurred as Richards was making a right-hand turn onto My Lords Bay Road while on a phone call. The Crown alleged that this distraction was the cause of the collision. According to a report in the Daily, a CCTV analyst calculated that the crash could have been avoided had Mr. Wilson been traveling less than 59 kilometers per hour. In his estimation, the rider was speeding between 73 and 86 The rider suffered a serious bone fracture in his leg, lost a toe, has lung damage, and has memory problems due to the head-on crash. Earl Basin will have your sports roundup in just a few minutes. Stay tuned.
Bermuda, home to 64,000 people, or 63,799 to be exact. Famous for some of the best beaches in the world. And cajaos, and shorts, and fish sandwiches. We have tartar sauce, and rum swizzle, and parties. Since we're 640 miles into the Atlantic Ocean, it's an expensive place to live. Yeah, pay $25 for a peanut butter sandwich. So how do we earn money? We don't mine for gold, or make mobile phones, or manufacture clothes. Since we don't make products, we provide services. In fact, more than 98% of our economy is made up of services. Of those, a majority are global financial services, accounting, trusts, insurance, and many other services that keep the world's economy moving. This is called international business. Those who do this work spend their money on all kinds of things, like restaurants, real estate, gardening, hairdressing, boats, dog grooming, soy caramel macchiato lattes, and everything else. Which means for every job in international business, an extra 1.3 jobs are created in Bermuda. This is called the multiplier effect, and it creates opportunities for all of us. Yet another reason that international business is everybody's business.
And turning to sports now, Olympian Tyler Butterfield is not ready to give up his career just yet. Britain's three-time Olympian Tim Dunn tells when he knew the triathlon was going to be a career for him. And the recently concluded International Student Athlete Academy training camp was a success. Earl Basin has all the details in tonight's sports package.
Bermuda Olympian Tyler Butterfield is back on the island for a short visit alongside Tim Dunn, who will host a triathlon clinic this weekend. We asked Butterfield where he's at with his career.
I'm not at a stage where I have to stop. It's more I've been doing it a long time. My first pro race was when I was 19. My first triathlon was when I was 7. I just turned 36, so basically 29 years I've been doing this sport. The thing is, I started the sport because I loved it. I didn't want to be a professional. I just wanted to test myself. So I don't know where I'm going. I think I'm going to be one of the athletes that just keeps racing for the rest of his life. And some people will say, oh, he should have stopped when he was at his best. But it's not why I started the sport.
Don discussed when he realized triathlon was for him.
Me, it was when I was 19 and all my friends were just finishing off university and they were looking for work, and I said, well, I've kind of got a job. And they were like, no, but you're still doing triathlon. I said, well, that is my job. I can race for prize money and I have some sponsors, and I'm just going to move to South Africa for 5 years to live there. Yeah. So yeah, it was about then when I was just before I was 20.
Cal Blankendow summed up the recently concluded International Student Athlete Academy training camp.
Identified 2 young ladies for potential bursaries in the soccer arena. There were 15 to 17 students who were introduced to field hockey, so that's another sport that they would hopefully gravitate to, but also assist the Field Hockey Association with finding new members. And in the end, The schools have also indicated they would like to come back to field hockey, probably on a cultural exchange tour. And the soccer program from San Episcopal School in Texas to come back with a men's team. So with a men's team, we always ask, can you bring a women's team and step out? So that means not only will Brazilian football school players, club players, but the island as well, with the national programs in both respective sports of field hockey and football or soccer, they will be the beneficiary of that.
Jillian Teixeira and Tyler Lopes began competing in the Centaur Park MEO Cup Finals in Belgium. Teixeira and Maya would finish 62nd during the 1.25 meter in two phases special class. The pair would clock a clear round first phase time of 47.85. In the second phase, they would clock a time of 36.90, but they would have 4 penalty foul points. Unfortunately, Lopes and Hamlet were eliminated in the same class. During the 1.35 meter in two phases special class, Teixeira and Iluna would finish 50th. They would clock a clear first phase time of 36.75, and then they would clock a second phase time of 33.90, but they would have 4 penalty foul points. Elon and Elijah Daly would conclude competing in the 2019 Ontario Winter Festival Swimming Championships. At the conclusion, they would have raised their medal count to 10, winning 4 gold medals on day 2. Elon Daly would win the girls' 13-year-old 100-meter freestyle, touching the wall in a time of 56.44. This time breaks Madeline Moore's record of 57.49, set back on March 21st, 2015, during the Schroeder's Spring Age Group Championships in Bermuda. Winning the girls' 13-year-old 200-meter IM saw Elon Daly record a time of 2:20.28, breaking Emma Harvey's time of 2:27.01, set back on December 5th, 2015, during the Winter Age Group Championships at the Bassa Pool. Elon Daly led off the Ettenbrook Swimming Club's 12 to 13 girls 400-meter freestyle relay team that would clock a gold medal time of 3:58.64. Elijah Daly would win the boys' 12-year-old 200-meter butterfly gold medal, touching the wall in a time of 2:23.75. This time would break the record of 2:38.44 set by his brother Ethan Daly, who set the record back on May 17th, 2014 in Canada. Elijah Daly would then finish 7th in the boys' 12-year-old 100-meter breaststroke, clocking a time of 1:17.58. He would then break the record time of 2:29.80 set by Sam Williamson on April 13th, 2017, during the Best of the Best No. 2 series at the Bassa Pool, while finishing 4th in the boys' 12-year-old 200-meter IM when he was clocked at 2:26.56. Luke Acktried Sterling and his Adelphi University men's tennis teammates dropped their spring opener 7-0 to Long Island rivals New York Institute of Technology. Acktried Sterling and his doubles partner, playing in the number 2 spot, would go down in a tiebreaker 7-6, 6-2 in the tiebreaker. Sophomore and 2017-18 Northeast 10 All-Rookie selection, Acktried Sterling played the tightest singles set for Adelphi University in the match overall. Playing in the number 3 spot, he would push senior Max Cook to a first set tiebreaker before falling into 7-6, 7-5 in the tiebreaker, 6-2. I'm Earl Baisden with Bermuda Broadcasting Sports.
Thanks, Earl. And just one other sports note: the Premier Division football match between Crossroads and the PHC Zebras tomorrow, Saturday, February 23rd, will take place at the Wellington Oval with a kickoff time of 3 p.m. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Price Rate is your one-stop shop with something for everyone. Household goods for kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Aisles of bulk groceries at value prices. A complete selection of fresh meat and produce, and an extensive range of frozen items to cover every meal. Wines from around the world, and beer and liquor at discount prices. Visit Price Right at our 2 locations in Pembroke and Warren. There's always something new and always something for everyone.
We are the voices.
You are with the captain.
It's Mr. Midday.
12 new major news.
The big station.
The morning show.
The number 1 song.
The Faces.
You're watching Bermuda Tonight.
This is exactly what you're talking about.
What an upset it was.
The Storytellers.
They are actually using the pepper spray.
Police are aware of this theory.
The water is 3,500 meters deep.
The tax climbs up to 12.5%.
The window on our community.
We bring you the best in U.S. television entertainment
and the greatest sporting events in the world.
A brilliant performance from Duffy.
We are the island's only Bermudian-owned broadcaster of both television and radio.
With the only TV channels that are available over the air in beautiful high definition, completely free.
We are always expanding.
We are always innovating.
And most important, we're always your station.
This is Bermuda Broadcasting.
And last but certainly not least, an investigation into the cause of a house fire in Sands has begun. The Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service received a 911 call shortly after 3 in the morning of a reported structural fire at a residence on Acacia Lane. Upon arrival, firefighters noticed flames and heavy smoke coming from a downstairs laundry room. Firefighters were able to extinguish the fire, but the home received smoke damage throughout. That fire is currently under investigation. Well, that's our newscast for tonight. I'm Diane Brewer. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Good night.